Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel, I'm the Shotgun Shogun, and as the title explained, today I'm going to tell you why you should be using Violet's Talisman. Now, not only should you be using Violet's Talisman because, well, it's got Violet on it, but because it's actually pound for pound a bit better than Moonlight Dream Blade. Now, when you think thieves and you think evasion, everybody goes Moonlight Dream Blade. Moonlight Dream Blade. You need a Moonlight Dream Blade. It's going to give you attack up. It's going to give you some evasion. It's great. It's phenomenal. It's literally the only thing that I can ever hear people mentioning ever. And I never hear anybody talk about Violet's Talisman. Now, one of the big things about Violet's Talisman, and this is going to assume that you have it, is that it is a 5-star, right? Because, you know, Moonlight Dream Blade's a 4-star. Violet's Talisman is a 5-star. However, at some point or another, you know, if you've been playing this game long enough, you're going to pull one of them, and, you know, maybe you're going to pull more than one of them. And it's always in the shop. Well, it's not always in the shop. It's in the shop every so often. So I want to show you why you should pick this character, pick this artifact up, and who to use it on and in what situations. Now, first off, let's tell you what it does. So it increases attack by 10% and evasion by 10% at the start of every turn. Each effect can stack up to 3 times and resets at the start of battle. Now that is at maxed. Obviously at base, it is going to be +5/+5. This is down here at level 15 is going to be 7.5 and 7.5. Now Moonlight Dream Blade is going to be 20% evasion, and after successfully evading, you are granted increased attack for 1 turn. Now, not only are the stats better pound for pound here, at max you get 273 attack on Violet's Talisman, 234 attack on the Moonlight Dream Blade. By the way, it's only 15% down here at +15. So Violet's Talisman after 2 turns is already on par with Moonlight Dream Blade from an evasion standpoint. I'm going to tell you why it's even better when you start thinking about other things along with this. So, okay, we're going to assume that you have it and you have it maxed out. Now, where Moonlight Dream Blade gives you an attack up buff for 1 turn, only if you evade, Violet's Talisman just gives you increased attack. No buff, no nothing. So if you have an attack buffer on your team, let's say an Oxlots, for example, and this is one of the examples I'm going to use here because somebody will be like, well, why wouldn't you just, you know, use insert whatever on, you know, your thief that you're going to push forward. Well, if you're not cleaving, which, I mean, if you're cleaving, then this whole thing is kind of pointless because who cleaves with a character with Moonlight Dream Blade? You're going to use like a Portrait or a Tonfa or something along those lines. And I'll actually tell you why this is probably just as good as some of those other options as well, if you have it, because the attack is not a buff. So that stacks with attack buff. So if you have an Oxlots, you push somebody with a Violet's Talisman forward, you have the Violet's Talisman at max. Guess what? You just get the attack buff plus 10% of your attack. So this is really, really big with characters that you want to pair with an attack buffer, right? So one of the characters that I use Violet's Talisman on is Mursa. My Mursa is kind of quick. I usually run her with like a DN and then like a mitigation, like a Lilius or something along those lines. So she's going to be getting those turns, and right away, right out the gate, as soon as she gets her first turn, boom, 10% evasion, 10% attack. As soon as she cycles to the next one, she's already on par. She has a permanent Dream Blade plus 20% increased attack on top of the attack buff from DN. So you're going to be doing even more damage. Now, this isn't always the best option. Let's say for arena defense, right? You have an Arbiter Vildred. This is the most typical place that you're going to use this is on an Arbiter Vildred. And you just want that right out the gate, 20% evasion, That's understandable, and that's actually a situation where you would want to use Moonlight Dream Blade because you're not going to be able to get a cycle turn on this. But think about characters like Assassin Sid. Assassin Sid's going to go first. Assassin Sid's going to be really fast. So Assassin Sid is going to be building up those stacks on the Violet's Talisman exponentially faster and much, much better than the Moonlight Dream Blade. Not only that, but he already has the inherent 50% evasion on his S3. So boom, right out of the gate, you have 60% evasion, 50 from the buff, 10 from the Violet's Talisman, plus you're already doing 10% more attack damage. And when something dies, he gets CR push and an attack up buff. So it's phenomenal for him. Now you do want this on like quick characters, but here's where it gets even better. Characters like, well, obviously Violet, but you could also pick like Karen, like Baiken, stuff like that. Characters that get 2 turns. Guess what? As soon as they go, that's 2 stacks. It's already a Moonlight Dream Blade as soon as they take their turn. Violet, obviously, S2s, gives him an extra turn. So at the start of both of those turns, boom, 10%, 10%, 20% on both. So not only are you doing more damage, but you're going to have that permanent evasion there. And then as soon as you get your 3rd turn, you are miles away from the Moonlight Dream Blade in terms of both damage and evasion. So where is this going to be the best use? I honestly think that this is way better in RTA than Moonlight Dream Blade, because one of the big things with RTA is the matches aren't typically speed cleaved, because, well, you're going to be able to mitigate that. You run like 2 tanks, an evasion, and a support, right? A lot of times I'll run, a MRSA, DN, Lilius, and then Flurry. That way, I have mitigation there to keep my MRSA safe, and then MRSA gets a couple turns, and then she's S3ing people for a metric pile of damage. So in matches where you do expect to get all 3 of your turns, this is going to outshine Moonlight Dream Blade all day and all night. Personally, I will always use this. I have one that's maxed out right now. I'm working on a second one. I have pretty much just sidelined my Moonlight Dream Blades because, well, I don't typically use a huge thief on arena defense, and I don't think that I would use a slow thief in RTA. So when I know that I'm going to be running Assassin Sid, this is on my Assassin Sid when it's not on my MRSA, I pay a lot of gold to switch these things back and forth. It sucks a lot. That's why I'm building a second one. So I use this on characters that I know are going to get multiple turns, and it has just increased my overall win rates by a lot because I'm just doing more damage and I'm having that constant evasion. So like I said, the other thing too, though, is, like I said, it is a 5-star, so it is going to be a little bit harder to get. I personally do think that, if you have the dust to pick it up when it comes in the shop, Moonlight Dream Blade is a much easier to attain artifact, but I think that you shouldn't keep your blinders on to Violet's Talisman if you have maxed out Moonlight Dream Blades. You should be working towards a maxed out Violet's Talisman just to have that versatility there. So there you go. I hope that this has explained why I personally think that Violet's Talisman is the superior artifact, not just because it has 1 more star, but because you're going to have 30% extra damage on top of that attack buff. Anyways, guys, if you did like this, as always, make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash the bell notification, drop me a like and a comment, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace. Cracky.